Hello, everyone. Welcome to Introduction to SBA Programs. My name is Erica White. I'm the Assistant State Director for the Illinois SBDC Network, and I'm happy to have you all here, and I'll be moderating the session today. Before we get started, I'd like to ask everyone, please mute yourself unless you have a question for one of our presenters. We will have some time at the end of the session for some discussion, for you to ask questions, etc. And you can also put your questions in the chat and we will monitor that as well. The reason why it's not an issue that presenter notes are not available is because we have two vets with SBA here with us today, and we're always glad to have them. I'll let them do full introductions of themselves, but just so you know, Charlie White has been with SBA since 1999, and he has specifically done SBA lending. And Bob Esquivel has trumped Charlie by a full 10 years and has been with SBA since 1988. So thank you, gentlemen, both for joining us, and I will hand it off to either one of you.
Thank you, Erica. Appreciate it. And thank you for inviting us and giving us the opportunity to talk about our SBA loan programs and give an overview. We have, I think it's always good to go over what we have currently. So this is something that I'm going to hand over to Charlie. And we do have some exciting stuff that's going on as far as new stuff. And we always talk about as far as what sales that SBA has to offer. So we'll talk about those, a few waivers later on though too. So Charlie, so I won't take up too much of our time. If you want to go ahead and get started, appreciate it.
Definitely not a problem. Real quick, I know I usually talk fast, so I may have to have Bob interject to lengthen this out a little bit, but I'll try to talk a little slower today. Let's see if we can get this thing to work today. So this presentation is brought to you by the SBA and the Illinois SBA District Office. Bob is the Senior Lender Relations Specialist with SBA and is located in Chicagoland. I am the Lender Relations Specialist for Central and Southern Illinois, and I am located in the Springfield office. The Small Business Administration, of course, their mission is to assist small businesses in getting started, expanding, and to grow. Specifically this year, they are focusing on equity and inclusion, and we are really trying to penetrate more market area than we ever have before in previous years. SBA provides assistance in three major areas: accessing capital, counseling, and contracts, specifically contracts associated with the government.
And if you can back up just, if you can just back up just one slide a little bit. You said you talk fast and you were talking slower.
Probably not. There you go.
You can. There you go. Yeah. And the reason why I wanted to stop here and real quick, because as Charlie mentioned, our focus here is to help out small businesses. We're an agency that was started back in 1953. And that's all we do is help out small businesses. And of course, our relationship with all the SBDCs out there, you understand this. I just wanted to let you know when we talk about to meet our mission, there's three areas that we focus on. It's capital access, counseling, and contracts. And what I want to focus on is counseling, just so that you know. When I go out and I talk to lenders, we try to make sure that the relationship is established. We want to make sure that our lenders understand what the SBDCs do. And so when we talk about the counseling part of it, we mentioned to them, hey, if you have a small business owner that's not quite ready for you, this is who you can go to. So, you know, it's again, the SBDC network out there and who's listening to what we do, we understand it is a partnership, and we really believe that it's a very valuable partnership that we have. So thank you. And just to let you know that that's a key point, the counseling part. So I didn't want to just skim over that part of it. Okay, Charlie.
Yeah, just to back up what Bob's saying, I believe I referred to businesses to the SBDC network, let alone just this morning. One of the things that is unique about Bob and I's position is we specifically deal with the lending community. A lot of the other positions they have out there are kind of a jack of all trades position, where Bob and I have been in banking previously and worked specifically with banks to get small businesses access to capital. So a lot of times when we are contacted by small businesses, we do refer them directly to the SBDC network, because I'm sure Bob knows, but I'll be honest with you, I don't know the ins and out of signing a business up to do business in Illinois. So I will automatically refer them to the SBDC network to work with you guys. This is a screenshot of what SBA.gov is and what our page is. And there are all kinds of different information tools and resources on SBA.gov that if you go to, you can click on it. They have been continually updating the SBA.gov platform and have done a particularly nice job of making it easier in regards to how it flows through to get to whatever area it is you are looking for.
Yeah, I love our website, but I also hate it only because there's so much information there and it's hard to get to. So, you know, one of the things that we don't have at the end, we definitely will give you our contact information. So if there's something specifically that you at the SBDC are looking for, hey, Bob, you mentioned this, Charlie, you mentioned this, send us an email and we'll send you the link and where to find that information. So, I mean, this, again, we're looking at this website. I put a couple of clips in there. So when we talk about our loan programs, you'll be able to go to this website and find the details of our different loan programs that we have to offer. And also there's up on the top there, there's 4 partners. And if you see that up there, you can click on the 4 partners. It's small little letters that's on top of the other blue, right? And when you go in there, there's actually something for lenders. It's open to everyone. As a tip to the SBDCs, please use that. You'll find information regarding as far as our notices, our policy notices, our information notices, our update notices. You'll find a wealth of information there to understand our programs. And of course, we do have lending platforms on there. Our lending platforms, to me, I'll be honest, are not as good as the SBDCs. So we definitely would rather refer them over to you. But if you do have a client who's looking to do something that's off time that they can't meet up with your schedule, refer them to our lending platform. That might be a great idea. I'm sure that SBDCs, although too, also have a lending platform of some sort. And of course, you'll find out a little information regarding as far as the business laws on our website. You'll find out as far as who the lenders are in our website, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But again, the great website, SBA.gov, is a great tool for SBDCs as well as your small business owners.
Now, of course, this is one of the goals of SBA in regards to Bob and I's job into getting people, or lenders specifically, signed up in what is called Lender Match. It works a lot like Match.com. I assume someone in Washington must like Match.com because that's essentially what it is for lenders and small businesses. The lenders can sign up to receive small business loan request online. I think the one thing that the PPP and the pandemic have taught us is that there is a large need, or maybe less of an intimidation factor, for businesses to go online and put their information into the computer and submit, as opposed to actually showing up at a bank or lender. The lenders on their side go in and fill out specific information about what types of loans they would like to see. They can narrow it down specifically to industry. They can narrow it down to county. They can narrow it down to almost anything that you can think of. There's about 20 different items they can choose. The small business owner themselves can go in and request in general, here's kind of what I'm looking for. Here's how long I've been in business. Here's what, I have that I can do. And those two, once submitted, are kind of linked up. So it sends a message to the lender saying, you know, here's someone looking for financing, it meets your criteria. Would you like to see more? But also, if you go to the platform, it does have some tools for the borrower themselves that they can use, or some information that they would most like to know. Hopefully, at the start of Lender Match, it will lead them to asking questions of, you know, I probably need help putting together this business plan, or I probably need some advice. So hopefully that leads them directly to the SBDC network in order to be able to complete this. So when they do find a lender that they want to choose, they will submit it accordingly with your guys' help.
So
Anything?
I'm sorry,
ahead, Bob.
Charlie. I thought you were done. I was just saying an important thing to mention. First of all, Charlie mentioned as far as, you know, different as far as provider for this service. It's really important to mention that Lenders Match is free, or the other providers will charge, right? This is free to the small business owner. It's free to your lenders. As a lender relations specialist, we develop relationships with lenders. We know that the SBDCs do too. So this is something, if you have any kind of relationship with lenders, to let them know about this. Now, to your small business owners, you want to let them know that it's only SBA lenders that are on here. So you're going to be talking about some questionable online lenders. These are vetted lenders that participate in our Certified Development 504 program, our 7A loan program, our Express loan program, our micro loan lenders. These are vetted SBA lenders that can only participate in here. And it's free, again, to both. And Charlie pretty much told you about the details and how it works. Let me also mention that how it works is a small business owner, when they upload their information to request some assistance, because it's not a loan application, it's more of a meet and greet. And then after they've uploaded, it only takes about 5 to 10 minutes for a small business owner to do this. It's blasted out to all the lenders who have opted into that specific county. Some lenders have opted in for the whole country. Some lenders have opted in for a region, or maybe the whole state, or multiple states. And some lenders just certain counties, and that's how they can do it. Now, when it is blasted out to all the lenders who have opted in one form or manner for that particular county, it'll be about 48 hours when a lender will respond. Now, unfortunately, if with the filters, we're trying to make it a little bit more successful, but if the small business owner is not successful and there's no return answer from any lender who's interested, then they will get a message to talk to someone in the resource partners, meaning the SBDCs. So I just want to let you know that it is important that we are referring those back who have had not any kind of, as far as contacts with a lender, that we are referring them back to our SBDC partners. Charlie, all yours again.
Next slide is, we do have assistance from our SBA partners group, free assistance with reconstructing financial records, preparing financial statements, submitting the loan applications available, obviously through the SBDCs, you guys, scores, women's business centers, veterans business outreach centers, and local chambers of commerce. Obviously, we tell them for our nearest office, you can visit www.sba.gov/local assistance. And also we have our learning platform that is on sba.gov that I believe Bob and I covered early on. What are the SBA loan programs? So there are programs, and I usually say that there are two main programs: the 504 loan program and the 7A loan program. Almost everything fits under the 7A loan program umbrella, like the microloan program, the cap lines program, community advantage, international trade, delegated loan authorities. I've been since told that there's actually split into three, that it's 504, 7A, and microloan. The microloan program is actually run by a nonprofit organization, and it is done through, most of you know, Justine Peterson. And Justine Peterson likes to use the term that they help make small businesses bankable. And so the microloan program is for those businesses that need an extremely small loan, so it's not profitable for the bank, or they need a small microloan to get their credit or their affairs in order. Whereas the 7A is kind of the general all-purpose loan program that SBA uses, where you can do lines of credit, term loans, pretty much everything that you can think of fits under the 7A loan program. And lastly, there's our 504 loan program. Our 504 loan program is our fixed asset financing program. Those are the ones that offer long-term fixed rates for the SBA portion of the loan. And those are the ones that seem to be selling like hotcakes at the moment with rising interest rate environment. Everybody wants to lock in a good portion of their loan for as long as they can. And once again, like I said, it says it's for fixed assets, so that's real estate and equipment. Under the 7A umbrella, as you can see down there, delegated loans and PLP Express, that's just basically a streamlined process for a general 7A, where they can get a quicker turnaround time for those lenders that are uniquely experienced in SBA lending. Community Advantage loans, those are just exactly like you're thinking. They help provide a service, or I'm drawing a blank on what word I want to use, but basically it's an advantage for the
Mission
community
focus, our mission focus as far as underserved markets.
There you go. And then of course we have the cap line programs, which historically SBA has not done lines of credit. And so that's kind of their avenue into doing lines of credit is under the cap lines program. They offer lines of credits just like a general line of credit, which is their working capital line of credit. They have a builder's line of credit for contractors doing spec homes, but they have 2 or 3 specific working capital lines in that program. The international trade loans, those are the ones that get 90% guaranteed, and those are for our exporters. Don't forget that Mexico and Canada are considered exports. So I'll turn it over if Bob wants to add anything.
Sure, thanks, Charlie. So really what we want to demonstrate here is just our structure, and we're going to have more details in slides to come about our different loan programs. The main thing I wanted to mention here is our program's actually very easy to use. So when you talk to a small business owner and they say, oh, how do I get an SBA loan? Well, most of them work with, as Charlie mentioned, with one of our lender participants. So they just simply go to their bank of account. We're going to talk a little bit about that more, but again, the process is simple. When they go to their bank, the bank's going to say one of 3 things. I'm sorry, we just can't help you at all, period. And usually this is where I usually talk about the ugly baby story, but we'll keep that maybe for later. And that's when if they say they can't help them, that's when they need to go to an SBDC for assistance and see if they can get them on track to maybe look for some capital access. The second response will probably be, okay, we can do it and no problem, because we'll do it conventionally. And the third is, we can do it, but I think we're going to need a little help here. And we'll look for an SBA guarantee in order to do this. So again, the simple answer on how to do an SBA loan to a small business owner is basically go to your bank. And usually your bank of account that you're dealing with now is the one that's going to show the most interest, because you already have a relationship developed with that particular bank. And they want to keep it. So that's always an important thing when we talk to small business owners. The relationships are to build with your accountant, your attorney, and your lender. Charlie, I'm done.
I guess I should have mentioned this at the very beginning to everyone, but the reason Bob and I chose this particular platform is to remind everybody what it is we actually do with SBA loans, because I think we broke every rule in the book on PPP lending. We did loans to non-for-profits, we did loans to hedge funds managers. I mean, all that stuff is fine and dandy and they needed it at the time, but that's not actually what we were designed or meant to do. So we're trying to re-educate everybody and hopefully maybe put the PPP behind us and the idle behind us in regards to moving forward.
That's absolutely correct, Charlie. And we're going back to the stuff that we've been doing since 1953.
So in fiscal year 2021, SBA nationally delivered over $44 billion in financing, guaranteed over 61,500 loans. Also in 2021, the state of Illinois itself had 199 participating lenders and delivered over 1.4 billion in financing, and that is 2,160 guaranteed loans.
Thanks, Charlie. And it's important to note that we did over 61,000 loans. We did over 2,000. Well, we didn't do them. We guaranteed, right? So we're working with our lenders in order to get this accomplished. What's really important to note, though, is those numbers have gone up. And also with here in Illinois, we had 199 different banks use the program last year. During a pandemic, our numbers have gone up. So this is great. This is good news. So before, I think it was in 2018, we had 144 different lenders participate. So the more lenders we get to participate, the more capital access will be available to our small business owners. So this is where we're trying to show as far as, okay, this is the guarantee program. Does it work? It does. Here's the numbers to show you that it does work. So what we're doing, again, is trying to use this program to add some flexibility to the lending policy. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So again, this is just to show if we're just guaranteeing a loan, why do I need SBA? I have an uncle who can guarantee the loan. And yeah, it guarantees us a little bit stronger and allows, again, the lenders to add some flexibility to their lending policy.
Apparently not everyone has an uncle like Bob.
Rich Uncle Sam.
So the next page, everyone likes recognition. So we recognize the top lenders for Illinois for fiscal year 2021. And as you can see, we've had some pretty significant participation from our large banks down to more regional lenders.
And more important, I want to point this out is this, we have a complete list as far as our lender performance that we send out on a monthly basis or prepare. Actually, we've been doing it on a quarterly basis now, but if the SBDCs are looking for the complete list of that 199 different lenders that use the program, we can get that to you. And the reason why I mention that is because I don't usually talk about, okay, Huntington Bank is the largest, Byline Bank is the largest, they're the ones to go to. That's really not what I preach. What I preach is to, as I mentioned before, small business owners looking at this, use it as a tool, not as an absolute. Go to your bank of account first. That's probably your first choice to go to. Hopefully nobody from Huntington Bank or Byline Bank is on the line, but as many loans as they do, they probably turn down a lot more. So it's a good thing to understand that. So the tool that I'm talking about, you can use this for, is look at the number as far as loans they've done and divide that into the total dollar amount. And you can see if they have an appetite for large loans or small loans. And you as a small business owner, as a CDC counselor is talking to your clients and let them know, hey, you might want to go to this bank because your average size loan is less than $1 million. Again, you look at Byline, there's 1.1 million is their average size loan. But they also do have an express lending authority, which is doing smaller loans though too. Huntington National Bank, on the other hand, is their average size, when you divide the numbers there, is around $260,000. So that's how you can use it as a tool to see who's doing what and where, and also what's their appetite for the size loan. Thank you, Charlie.
So most importantly is what are considered the qualities needed for a customer to receive a loan from a bank and specifically almost any type of lending tool that is out there. Number one, obviously, is you must demonstrate repayment ability. I know we list it last, but it is always the first thing on the list of what lenders are looking for. The next thing that they like to see is sufficient equity and management capability. And obviously, in this day and age, you don't have a small bank in your town of 650 people, so you can't really know their grandparents and parents before them. So you have to rely on their credit. So obviously, good credit is how they'll determine, based on how you've repaid your other debts, whether or not you are considered a strong borrower. And that will depend a lot on what kind of interest rate they will offer the borrower is your credit score. Any other comments you'd like to add, Bob?
I do, if I can, and what I want to say is, you knew I was, right, Charlie?
I do.
And so when I look at this, and I mentioned to the lenders and then also to the small business owners, we're willing to do an SBA loan, provided everything else makes sense. So, you know, I like to usually pepper in misconceptions about SBA and also some tips. So the misconception about SBA is that we're a lender of last resort. That's not true. If everything makes sense, then we're willing to do the SBA loan. And so that list that you see in front of you, management's capability, sufficient equity, good credit, repayment ability, that needs to make sense first before we'll take a look at an SBA loan. And our lenders are coached to know this. So we're not looking to do something as far as that's going to cause us heartburn after. So management capability, a tip, comes in the form of either experience or education. The tip part is it also comes in the form of a good business plan. And they're going to show you projections. And my tip is to small business owners, hopefully the SBDCs follow this too, is not to do 2 years or two sets of as far as projections, or 2 years, just 2 years of projections, maybe even 3 years, but to do 3 sets of those. 3 sets, one most likely case scenario, the other as far as the worst case scenario, and then a third one, the best case scenario. Do those 3, and when you demonstrate and send that to a lender says, hey, this guy's prepared. He shows to me management capability. Now, of course, those projections should be done as far as in reasonable terms though too. So there's another tip, not promoting this, I'm not endorsing this, is something called RMA. And this is what the tool that lenders use and the SBA will use though too. RMA, it used to be called Robert Morrison Associates, now it's Risk Management Associates. It's a big, thick book, costs a lot of money. I usually tell small business owners, go to the library, take a copy of the page that you need. That book will outline all the industries, and it'll give you the breakdown of what the average as far as margins are for your projections, starting at 100% for sales and working down to your operating costs, down to as far as your net profit. If your projected numbers for your small business owner are way out of line, then it's going to be considered as overly optimistic. And then again, that's a good tip to use. And then as far as the rest of the part, Charlie hit him right on the head. As far as sufficient amount of equity is going to come in the form of additional money that needs to be put in for a startup, or if you have a good, strong net worth in an existing business, this is what we're looking for. And of course, again, the misconception is if your credit's no good, go to the SBA. The lenders it starts with the lenders. And if the lenders see that the credit's not there, and if you're not paying everybody else, more than likely you're going to have that feeling that you're not going to pay them too. And of course, repayment ability is based on those projections and cash flow or historical financial statement. Cash flow has to be there in order to meet the debt service that you're asking for, as well as all the debt service that they have already on their books. Thank you, Charlie.
Yeah, since we are trying to send businesses to you guys, the SBDCs, just to give you a heads up, if you have not seen an RMA before, you may want to go look at it because it may look like it's written in a different language to you, and you may need to do a little research on how to read it. Or maybe everyone's smarter than me, but I know I struggled in the beginning on what exactly it was trying to tell me, because it's just like a chart of numbers on both sides. So that's just a heads up for you guys. What are the three main, I almost actually stated this about 2 seconds ago. What are the three main reasons why lenders use SBA? It's a startup business, so there's a high probability of failure. B, there's a complete lack of collateral. And when you have a lack of collateral and the auditors come in, they typically make you reserve more cash on hand to cover that loan. And that's costly. Or the last one is they need a longer repayment term. So typically a bank might go 3, maybe 5 years on a working capital loan at best. Usually they do them as lines of credit, whereas the SBA itself will go 7 to 10 years. A lot of times on real estate, lenders like to hold it to about 15 years, maybe 20. SBA will go up to 25. So in those cases, it provides more room for error or better cash flow for the business owner themselves in case something does pop up. And those are, if you're looking at a customer, the three things that should, if they pop up in a review of a customer, should automatically make you think, hey, SBA, this is a perfect fit. It'll help cover the shortfall for the lenders and make it a bankable deal.
Right, those are, you can just go back real quick, Charlie, appreciate it. So what this represents basically is the risk to a lender. They, as far as the collateral being maybe the number one reason that actually lenders will use SBA, it's either because of the quality or the quantity of the collateral that's not there. They want 110 or better as far as collateral. With the guarantee, it helps mitigate that risk. So the lender will be able to add flexibility in their lending policies in these three areas because of the guarantee. So that's an important factor I just want to stress is it's the guarantee that allows us flexibility. Newer startup businesses, they just don't do them, and their lending policy says no. But with an SBA guarantee, well, maybe we can do it. And we'll look at it, provided everything makes sense. Previous slide that said that. Everything makes sense. We're willing to go ahead and take that risk and offer that guarantee to that lender. Longer repayment terms. As Charlie said, most lenders would want to do shorter term. The problem with that, it strangles their cash flow. And it really sets them up for failure. So they need those longer terms in order to make it work for them, to make that cash flow available to them. Okay, Charlie, thank you, buddy.
Sure. One of the things that we are the Small Business Administration, so we do make size determinations for every loan. I know a lot of people get a little bit worried about the size standard, but I will tell you, I believe it's something like 98% of all businesses qualify as small businesses across the United States. And that is because if you look on the right, the alternate size max, that's 15 million in tangible net worth or $5 million average after-tax income for the past 2 years. Almost everybody ends up falling under the alternate size max. In general, there are size standards, and we do have a list if you do want to search it available, and it's based on your NAICS codes. And retail service in general is 7 million in sales, manufacturing up to 500 employees, wholesale up to 100 employees. But in general, the alternate size max will get everybody pretty much in under the small size standard. Bob?
And it's important to note that you can use one or the other. So if you have a maximum as far as tangible net worth of $20 million, but you're a manufacturer who has 200 employees, you're still good to go. So you can use one or the other, whichever one is going to work for you. And to me, that's very generous. And that's why Charlie mentioned, as far as for us using our size standards, over 98% of the businesses in the United States are considered small.
And it may even be higher than that.
I actually use 99% as the figure.
So the 7A loan program, so your maximum loan cannot exceed $5 billion. So that means at a 75% guarantee, SBA share would be $3.75 million. So at any given time, you can have several different loans out there, but our total guarantee portion can't be over 3.75 million in regards to the 7A lending. SBA guarantee on 7A loans that are 150 less is actually 85%. Any loans over the 150 threshold, that's where we drop down to a 75% guarantee. Bob?
It's just want to mention something real quick is when we show these figures, when I show these figures up on the screen to small business owners, they shake their head. I don't want that big of a loan. Those are maximums, right? So anything, it can be anything less that the bank's willing to do. I mean, we're willing to guarantee a $500 loan if they're willing to submit it. But I know the cost is beyond them, and that's when it fits into maybe something like a microloan program. The other question I usually ask if I'm in the room with small business owners is $5 million enough? How many years says the $5 million is not enough? There's always one smart aleck that raises his hand, but for the most part, it usually fits their needs. I remember when I joined, it was around $2 million was the maximum. So $5 million, we've upped it. I think it meets more than as far as the maximum needs of a small business owner.
What different purposes can you use a 7A loan for? As I mentioned previously, almost everything fits into the 7A box, and that includes even things that are considered 504 eligible, which is to purchase land and building or to construct a land or a building. Well, I guess you wouldn't construct land, but you construct a building. Expansion or conversion of an existing facility, so you need to upgrade your technology or your software. Purchase machinery, equipment, supplies, materials, inventory. As I mentioned previously, they can also offer long-term working capital in the 7A loan program. And of course, we also have short-term lines of credit under the CAP line, which is also a 7A loan. But you can also do debt refinancing in the 7A loan program. We have expanded what you're allowed to do in regards to debt refinancing significantly from when I had originally started. But in general, you can even refinance your own debt as long as you were not putting the government in a position to sustain a loss, which basically means they better not have had a late payment over the last year if you're trying to refinance your own debt. The one thing that SBA really does not want you to do is to refinance an existing SBA loan. They'd rather you just adjust the terms if you're doing an additional one to the terms of the new one. So that way it's almost like combining it, but that way you're not taking money from a previous year and rolling it into a new year, like taking it from two separate buckets is how SBA looks at it. But in general, you can refi almost any debt you can think of. The one thing that they really do not allow with the 7A is to pay delinquent federal debt. Now, there is one provision: if they do have a repayment plan with the IRS, all of a sudden, and they have been paying it as agreed, all of a sudden it is eligible for refinance. But beyond that, most everything that you can think of will be eligible for 7A loan program. Bob?
You actually covered most of it. That's great. The way I just put it, as far as purpose of the loan, it's for most legitimate business needs. So it really has to meet the needs of the business, including as far as debt refinancing. It needs to be for the benefit of the small business owner, not for the lender, just because he feels that its collateral is no longer what he likes. If he already has that loan in place, we're not going to refinance just because the lender wants a certain position in collateral. And typically, to meet that test, it needs to reduce the debt service by at least 10% for the small business owner. So that's one of the, as far as the test there. And just real quick, as far as Charlie mentioned, as far as working capital, needs and lines of credits that are done under cap line. It can actually be done also under our SBA Express Loan Program, which I think we'll talk about in a little bit too.
What is the maturity for these? Working capital, you can go up to 10 years. Most of them are done for 7. You'll need an explanation if you want to go up to 10. Machinery equipment is done up to 10 years, but if it's part of a real estate expansion, usually it is rolled in and can be done up to 25 years. If it's a significant piece of equipment, obviously, and the manufacturer gives you a letter or a professional of some type in the industry gives you a letter stating the useful life of that particular equipment is substantially longer, like 15, 20 years, then you can go 15 or 20 years on that piece of equipment. Repayment ability is normally done on a monthly installment basis of principal and interest. Variations are negotiated for seasonal cycles of business activity, such as golf courses or lawn and maintenance. They may have a different than monthly plan set up. They may have, interest only or no payments during the winter, and then cover the payments within 9 months or 6 months that they're actually open and productive. Bob?
No, I'm good at this time, believe it or not, Charlie. You're good to go.
Okay. I was just trying to click off because I can't really read the top of it, but it looks like it says interest rates are negotiated between the applicant and the lender based on the credit merits of the application. So typically what that means is the lender is going to decide exactly what the rate is for the customer based on what their costs are and based on your credit score and based on your overall strength. For loans with a maturity of less than 7 years, the maximum rate SBA allows them to charge is prime plus 2.25%. For loans with a maturity of 7 years or more, the maximum rate is prime plus 2.75%. That is if the lender is using SBA. SBA does set a maximum rate that they can charge. Exceptions are made for loans under 50,000 and express loans, which may be slightly higher just because it is more costly for the lender to do those.
So here, it's just an important part to understand, because we're talking to our SBDCs and we want to make sure that they understand our interest rates and our interest rate policy. So we don't actually set a minimum. There is no minimum. We set a maximum. So that's the cap. So the lender can only go up to typically 2.75 over prime. Prime is right now at 4%. And I would tell our small business owners, don't be too scared that they're creeping up, especially remind them back in 1980, prime rate was 21.5%, a real crazy amount. So we're still good, but it might be a good time to get it before it goes any higher. But the part that I was talking about as far as the maximum they can charge is 2.75 over prime. Lenders would probably like to charge more using the SBA program, but we tell them, well, wait a minute. Your interest rates are based on 2 things. They're based on a lot of different things, but 2 major things. One is the cost of funds. The other is risk. Or aren't we lowering your risk by offering you a guarantee? And for that reason, we're telling them this is the maximum that they can charge. So in reality, it is a possibility that banks can use the SBA program since we're lowering their risk. They can actually probably use a lower interest rate if they wish on as far as using SBA loans. So again, I just wanted to give you a little explanation on our policy and why we take a look at it that way as the maximum that they can charge. There is no minimum. Thank you, Charlie.
So there are fees associated with the SBA loan program. The SBA loan program has been designed or set up to be a 0 subsidy loan program. So we do charge significant fees associated with it. I don't believe, I want to say before the pandemic hit, I think we fell just short of 0 subsidy, Bob. And then, of course, I don't know where we ended up during the pandemic. My hair was on fire, which I don't even have any, which might explain it. But fees associated with our program, if the loan is more than $700,000, the guarantee fee is 3.5% of the guaranteed portion. So that means the guaranteed portion is what we're charging the fee on. If the loan amount is more than 150 but less than 700, the guarantee fee is 3%. So as you can see, we do have a fee structure associated with it. If the loan amount is 150 or less, the guarantee fee is 2% of the guaranteed portion. On a normal year, the lender itself actually gets to keep 0.25% of that 2% fee to make it more profitable for them to do smaller loans, as SBA is trying to push or urge them to do the smaller lending loans. For fiscal year 2020, loans of 350 or less, the guarantee fee is waived. There also is, for any express veteran loan, there is no fee. So if they are a veteran and you do an express loan, there is no fee associated with that particular loan. Bob?
So that's our SBA sale I was talking about. So this fiscal year for loans of 350,000 or less, no guarantee fee. It's no guarantee fee for upfront fee for the small business owner. And there's no guarantee ongoing fee for the lender. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. I do want to also mention, as far as the guarantee fee, is something that can be financed as working capital. It doesn't have to come out of your pocket. And if you have a 25-year loan, it's going to be spread out for 25 years. So those are just two things I just wanted to make sure that it was mentioned, that it's something that can be financed. And we are offering right now a good deal with the loans for 350,000 or under. So the reason, though, we're doing that, because we're trying to get the average size loan down. We understand that the smaller the loan, the more important it is for the underserved market. So that's one of the areas that we're really trying to focus on. And for that reason is that why we're basically waiving that fee for those type of loans. The smaller the loan, the more it's going to help out women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, rural-owned businesses. So we're trying to focus on those underserved markets. Thank you, Charlie.
And of course, as usual, I jumped the gun. So the veteran fee waiver, focus on veteran and their spouses. It is off expedited processing through the SBA Express. The maximum loan amount for the Express is $500,000, up from $350,000. And the 50% guarantee applies, and there is that no guarantee fee for the veterans and spouses.
Good.
Anything, Bob?
We have the notice for this, and if anybody wants to notice, please let us know. We can send it out to them. The notice basically will talk about not only as far as the fee waiver for veterans, but also identify who qualifies for as a veteran and their spouses. You know, I made a mistake one time that it was basically for widowed spouses for veterans. So person in small business room, they raised their hand and said, are you saying that my husband needs to be dead in order for me to qualify? And I said, so what do I need to do? Do I need to, no, don't do anything rash. It's even if your husband is still alive, you as a spouse are eligible for it. So again, we do have that notice that will give you all as far as the qualifications for a veteran and or their spouse.
SBA Express program. It is officially been raised to $500,000. So through the Express programs, you can receive up to a maximum of $500,000. Express programs can be used for lines of credit. Businesses only need to complete what the lender decides is the application process for the Express loan program. We do have some provisions for them, but it'll usually be on their application. There is no additional documentation from the SBA, so it is their application. There is no waiting for approval, so as soon as they send it in to be approved, they get a loan number, and it does offer a 50% guarantee. Bob?
Thank you, Charlie. A couple of things I want to mention here. First of all, I just want to highlight that guarantee is not 75%, it's 50%. And what's really crazy about that is SBA Express program is our most popular program. It's not all about the guarantee. It's about how easy we can make the loan program for lenders to use. So all those things that Charlie outlined is what makes it easier for the lender to do. So the other thing is that the program's name, SBA Express program. Usually when I'm talking to small business owners, I ask, how long do you think it takes the federal government, the SBA, the federal government, to return an answer to a lender after they submitted a request for the guarantee? How long do you think it takes us to respond? Some mean guys will tell me 6 months or a year. As the reality, under the SBA Express loan program, we can give them an answer within actually minutes. The official answer is like 48 hours, but they usually get an authorization within minutes. So it is that quick of a program. It makes sense to get it out quickly as possible for small business owners' needs, as well as the lender to make that decision, yes or no, in a quick manner. Now, after saying that, please don't have your small business clients go to a bank and said, Bob said, you can do this in minutes. The reality is the lender still has to do their due diligence. They have to submit it to their loan committee, or at least if they have their own as far as approval ability, they still have to review it and analyze it. Their biggest problem, as far as lenders tell me why it takes so long, is because the small business owner does not give them the sufficient amount of documentation needed. So use SBDC. If you can help in that area, that would be great. That's why we refer them back to you and have them referred back to the lender. I tell lenders that there's a relationship that I'd like to have developed between you and pick out a small business development center. And I also tell them that there's a loyalty there. If you send them to the SBDC and they know that, they will send them back to you as a lender. So hopefully I got my points there done, Charlie, so thank you.
So there is the export loan programs. Export Express loans have been permanently raised to 90% guarantee for loans of $350,000 and less. The guarantee levels remain at 75% for loans between $350,000 and $500,000. Export working capital program loans and international trade loans are permanently raised to 90%, providing a guarantee cap of $4.5 million on a $5 million loan. Anything, Bob?
Oh yeah, just to stress, again, I think you mentioned this before, Charlie, but 95% as far as consumers that are buying things are outside of the United States. So they need to open up their doors though too to find out as far as exporting is something they can use. The Export Express program to me is those who are just starting off and can use it for just planning their events overseas or something to go to. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to actually have exports. They can start planning to do exporting. I was in a room with small business owners and I asked how many exporters are there. Nobody raised their hand. But I remember when we went around the room, we talked about what type of businesses they had. There was one particular lady who had a doll business, a doll shop. And I asked her if she had a website. She said, yes. And I said, did you ever get any orders from someone from Canada or Mexico? And she said, yeah, actually he did. Well, you're an exporter. You don't have to be 100% exporting. If you even have a small percentage, you can qualify for some of these programs. Thank you, Charlie.
The microloan program is mission-based lending, and it's run by our non-for-profits. Microloans are up to $50,000. Interest rates are negotiated by the lender. They are usually pretty high because of the fact that they are mission-based. They do have a high failure rate, so that means that they do have to charge higher interest rates. They offer technical assistance. They are eligible to be community advantage lender, and the use of lender match for lead generation. So the microloan program in a nutshell is obviously, as we mentioned before, to help get your customers bankable. They also help in regards to improving their overall credit and credit scores, and most of the micro lenders will help with the credit report itself. Bob?
Just one quick mention regarding as far as Charlie mentioned, Justine Peterson is one of our micro lenders, and they do quite a bit of SBA micro lending. But we have two others also too, and it's Allies for Community Business and also Greenwood Archer Capital. Those are two other SBA micro lenders here in the state of Illinois, and more for the Chicago community area. Now, sometimes when we look at it as far as our sheets and how much SBA micro lending they've done, it doesn't show as much as maybe the big one, who's Justine Peterson. That doesn't mean they do not do microloans. It's just that they're using funding from other programs in order to deliver this micro lending to them. So I would always keep them as a big option though too. The ones are community micro lenders, and you can always find who they are and contact information on our website. And if you can't find them, feel free to give me a holler and we'll be more than happy to give you their contact information.
And of course, our most popular recently is the 504 loan program, which is a strengthened collateral position for the lenders to make it more profitable for them or more enticing for them to actually do the loans. You do not need any SBA lending history to be part of a 504 loan, to be the lender involved with the 504 loan. Technically, the father of the business could even be in first position and be the lender of record. CDCs are the ones that we use to process the paperwork for the 504 loan program. That stands for Certified Development Companies. I believe that there are 6 certified development companies still listed in the state of Illinois. 4 of them are actively involved in lending with the 504 community. And the good thing about the state of Illinois is the CDCs will actually do all the work for you. They will put together the paperwork for you, help you structure the loan the way that it's needed to be. If you reach out and are in contact with them, obviously they are more than helpful, because that is their mission and that is how they get paid, by doing 504 loans. Bob?
Right. To me, this is the best commercial real estate program out there. It's going to beat, as far as the fixed rate part of it, which is the 40% CDC. They'll go out for 20 or 25 years and they'll fix the interest rate. And it's probably, again, the cheaper than conventional as far as lending. Not probably, it is. It's right now around, it's just slightly under 5%, I believe. And again, it's locked in for 20 or 25 years. I usually tell lenders that if you're not offering this option, I'm going to tell the small business owners to go across the street and see if a different lender is offering the option. Our lenders, as you develop a relationship to lenders, should understand that, at least have this ability to offer this as an option. To understand that if not, you could probably be losing a customer. So this is, again, an excellent as far as loan program, especially for commercial real estate. It's one that's very few is going to offer, as far as the small business owner, to only contribute 10%. Typically for traditional lending, they're looking for 30% or more for commercial real estate. So again, this is an excellent loan program. It's grown popularity like crazy because, as Charlie mentioned, because the interest rates, people are looking to try to lock in those interest rates for 20, 25 years. Thank you, Charlie.
For more, I think we may have ran over on our time, but for more information on SBA's programs and services, obviously there's the SBA.gov. There's also the district office website, SBA.gov/ILL. And of course, the phone number for the district office is listed there too.
Don't you worry, Charlie. You did not go over on your time by any means. We're
right. We have up to 12:15, Charlie. So I thought you were going to be doing a song and dance, for us.
Oh, true. I thought I'd practice that for nothing.
Yeah. So again, that's great. As far as we ended with our contact information, I just want to give those out there, since you're our resource partners, SBDCs. I am not scared to give you my email address, and I'll type it in the chat though too, but it's robert. ESCAVEL, and that's spelled ES like in Sam, QUIV like in Victor, EL at SBA.gov. We have a lot of information we can share with you. If anything that we talked about, if you want more details, we'll be more than happy to do so. There's one of the things that our resource partners have asked. I have actually put my phone number already up there though too. One of the, as far as resource partners has asked me, he says, Bob, if you get a small business owner that calls you and looking for capital, what do you do? How do you respond to them? And I said, there's three questions I ask them. And that's, what type of business do you have? How much are you looking for? And what do you plan to use the funds for? And as they tell me that, then I can tell them more or less, what I can do for them or what information I can give them. And typically what I do is give them my email address and tell them, please, go ahead and send me an email. And remember to give me that information as far as the type of business that you have, how much you're looking for, and what do you plan to use the proceeds for? And I give them a canned email I develop. And that email is going to give them, as far as the information, first of all, about our resource partners, our SBDCs. Before you even talk about getting a loan, talk to your SBDCs. And that's in that email. And then it'll give them the link to find as far as who the closest one is. The next thing is going to be, as far as just talk about our loan programs. Again, a link on there to give them more details of our different loan programs. And I'll mention to, remembering what they wrote in their email and told me, what the proceeds is going to be for. Then I'll mention as far as which program might best suit them. And then I have the different programs, and I'll delete the ones that don't concern them. If they're looking for real estate loan, I won't talk about the microloan program. If they're looking for a $25,000 loan, I'll talk about the microloan program and give them the contacts. So that's a template that one of our resource partners says, hey, Bob, can you share that? Because in there, I also give the small business owner our active list of lenders in the state of Illinois. What does that active lender give them? It gives them the name, the contact name for that particular bank, and also as far as a phone number. So it's not just giving them who the active lender is, the bank, but again, very important, their contact information. And the reason why I say that, because, and I think it's very much needed, is I've talked to small business owners and they said they've gone to XYZ bank over off the Mississippi River, and they said they don't do SBA financing. And it turns out to be one of our biggest SBA lenders. It really matters that you talk to the right person. And that's why I think that contact list is very important. They need to talk to the right person when they go to their bank, to who understands as far as the SBA financing. That matters more when you're talking to a very large bank as opposed to a community bank. Community bank seems to know who to send them to for an SBA loan if they think it's needed, or at least the loan officers. Again, those canned letters seem to work well. I always get a response from a small business owner stating, hey, that was fantastic information. Thank you very much. This is exactly what I was looking for. Of course, if they get turned down, and it's almost like I have to tell them, Charlie, this as far as the ugly baby story, right? If they get turned down, then it's a matter of saying, okay, it's your baby. We understand it's your baby. It's something you started from nothing to what you have now. And so it's grown to that part of it. And so you treat it as your baby. We know that's your baby. But it's difficult sometimes for a bank to tell you that you have an ugly baby, right? So when they tell you that they have the ugly baby to a small business owner, they want to react and say, aggressively and argue. That's when they really need to go to the SBDC. And I think the SBDC can help them pretty up that ugly baby with maybe a bonnet, which comes in the form of maybe additional working capital or more experience. Maybe they can hire somebody to help, take care of that experience void, whatever it is, or put together a good business plan for them in order to demonstrate that they don't have that ugly baby. So again, I just want to let you understand that we do definitely promote the SBDCs whenever we have a chance to, and let them know that that is an excellent source. My feeling is most successful businesses are using technical assistance. If they don't, that's when the failure rate goes up quite a bit. Anything else, Charlie?
Not that I can think of.
I think we're going to be open for Q&As if there's any.
Anyone, questions? I will tell you that for both you, Bob and Charlie, we have a couple of people on here that are fairly new to the network. I'm talking days and early weeks. And then we have some that have been in the network at least for a year or so. And then we have some that have been with us for 2 or more years. So there was a wide range of knowledge.
Well, we're waiting for any kind of questions. I just want to, one of the things to do is always talk about success stories, right? And so it was funny because I was asked to do a little quick presentation of the SBA program similar to this at the North American Institute for Mexican Advancement. It was up in, I forget, I think it was Willing that I had to go up to. It was in the northern, northwestern suburb. So I went up there and they, of course they had Congressman Chewy up there and a couple other, as far as big wigs up there, and they're talking and doing their presentations, but they were also given an award to, as far as somebody who was part of their Chamber of Commerce and their organization. And the guy they were giving an award to, he was talking about his story. And his story was that he was looking to buy in 1970 a grocery store. And he couldn't find financing for it. The guy wanted $12,000 for this grocery store. And so finally the seller said, hey, well, how much money do you have? And he said, I got $200 in my pocket. And well, give me the $200. So it was sort of a financing between buyer and seller. And it worked for him. But later on, as his business grew, he needed equipment. He went to an S&L and they said, I'm sorry, savings and loans, we do real estate loans, but we can't help you with that equipment loan for business. You need to go to a different type of bank. He went to them and, we would like to help you out, but we just can't. Either because he was just too small or needed some longer terms that they weren't willing to give for as far as a grocery store equipment. So he kept going and he was able to get financing done through as far as the neighborhood or the community businesses. They helped him out because they wanted him to make sure that, this community, and it was an Hispanic community, to be able to grow. So finally, he really had some real big needs of equipment. And he said, well, one more time. And I said, I'm going to go to you see if I can get an SBA loan. And I put my hands up. I said, oh no, everybody's turned them down. I know the SBA, he's going to say the SBA turned them down. But this was in 1980. And he says, I was able to get the largest loan that I didn't think was possible. And I think it was for $250,000 or $400,000, somewhere large. So I was able to expand. He now has 8 locations. And the name of the business is Carniceria Jimenez. Started off in Pilsen. He's located also in a little village, and he's got places all over the place in the community and in Hispanic areas. Very successful businessman in, again, using the SBA loan program because others were telling him no. Again, we offered a guarantee, which offers the flexibility. And I'm sure when they're looking at the grocery store, he didn't have the collateral that was to them was desirable type of collateral. Any questions yet, Erica?
I believe Cheta had a question. If you want to go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm one of the newer ones. I'm the 5 months in, 6 months on the job. So I'm have a few clients that one scenario is wanting to get a loans to buy a building and open up a co-op kitchen. And the building is like 185 and the renovation maybe 180. So he's looking at like 350. So is that like a good fit for the 504 because it's a real estate kind of investment?
Charlie's our 504 guy. I'll let him answer that if he wants.
So yes, that is right in their area. What most 504 groups will tell you is the cutoff is at $250,000. And the reason that is because of the fees associated with anything lower than 250 gets to be substantially skews your interest rate because the closing fee for legal is $2,500. So once you go below $250,000 loan, your interest rate starts to really skyrocket in regards to effective interest rate. The only thing I would tell you about that particular loan is reach out to the local certified development company, because they'll have some interest, because you said co-op.
Right. So
And
like a co-op
they'll-
kitchen. Yeah.
they'll want some specifics on what you're calling a co-op to make sure that that still qualifies. SBA's book says owner occupied real estate.
I see. Okay. And the organization that you just mentioned, what did you say CDC, or what did you just said?
Certified Development Company, CDC.
Okay.
So if you look up SBA, CDC,
Right.
or if you want to send me or Bob an email, we've got a list of them.
Yes. Yes.
Remember how the CDC works, the 504 loan program works. It's going to be done 10% from the small business owner, 40% from a CDC, Certified Development Company, and 50% from a third-party lender. Almost all of the loans are referred from a lender to the CDC. So it might start with the lender first, finding a lender who's interested in doing that. So once you find an interested lender to do a CDC, then he usually has a relationship with that particular CDC, but we can still give you that list of who that CDCs are and the contacts are. So this way you can reach out and say, hey, do you have any resources, maybe a lender that we can send them to talk about doing this, or at least to call and reach out to the CDC and double check about the co-op as far as its eligibility.
Because the co-op part is kind of like some sort of special tax exception or something.
It's just that the co-ops, the nature of it, so we're looking to help out small businesses. So some co-ops are really, the organization is to benefit others. So
Right.
it's not really that for the benefit of themselves.
Right.
So that's the reason why the co-op might be a little tricky.
Sure. Okay. All right. And then the other thing is that he is selling his current office, and he's saying that he wanted to kind of take the money and refinance. Is that like something that the CDC can do at the same time so that he can save on tax or something like that?
So you said he's trying to sell his current office. You mean it's a structure?
Well, he has a building. He has a building
Right.
that he's selling. So he said
Right.
it's a perfect time for me to start a new business because I'm selling this building. Can I take the money and then so that I don't have to pay? I don't know the actual tax part on that.
Sure. Yeah, it's based on the capital gains. So he wanted to have the capital gain, so he wants to reinvest it immediately to a business. But that
Exactly.
wouldn't, I can't see refinancing coming into play there. Because
Okay.
he's not refinancing, he's selling.
Yeah.
And he needs to take proceeds to buy a new place. So that's not refinancing. But it is possible to get a loan to do that new as far as purchase.
Okay. I have also a second scenario, kind of similar thing actually. So I got a glass metal company manufacturer that wanted to buy a 15,000 square feet building. He also selling his other building in Chicago. And to do that, he also want to, he couldn't get the idle. We tried to get that, but he couldn't get it in time. So now he's looking at, equipment, like he wanted a crane in his warehouse and he's going to do light manufacturing. So with that, is that like what type of SBA loan would fit in that arrangement? So building, equipment.
Right. So you can look at the 7A loan program,
Mhm.
which goes up to 5 million, depending on what he's looking for. But we mentioned the Certified Development Company, the 504, and we talked about commercial real estate. It actually can be used for very large equipment though too, long-term assets. So it is possible to take a look at it for as far as the equipment part of it. I don't know what the dollar amounts are because Charlie mentioned there is sort of a cutoff for CDCs of what they'll look at. I do want to mention that there is a new program that's going to be coming out. And we have CDCs that have special designations, just like our 7A program has delegated statuses. And our CDCs right now have, here in Illinois, have a status of what they call ALP, which is an accredited lenders program. So we have 2 CDCs out of the 6 that have that designation of ALP. The new program that's coming out is going to be called Express ALP. That's going to have a lower dollar amount. So the fees are probably going to be lower though too, in order to accomplish trying to get the 504 loan program to do smaller loans. So we don't know all the rules yet. They're coming out. Programs will be coming out soon, and the designations will be coming out soon. I know that the ALPs that aren't now here have an interest in it, of course. So stay tuned. So we might have smaller loan program under the 504 loan program that might fit the needs of that equipment. Do you know the dollar amounts of the equipment?
Not sure. I think he was looking at the whole thing was 2 million with the idle before.
So you can do a 504 for the commercial real estate, including equipment. Am I correct, Charlie?
Yeah.
Lump it all together?
You betcha.
Okay.
That crane's probably 600 grand. So I'm sure you can. You may want to separate it out.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. Any other questions, comments, or updates? What's going on over there in the SBDC world? If not,
I have a question. I have a quick question. So when we're assisting clients, when we're advising, like I've worked personally with several clients who are working on 7A loans. We don't get a lot of 504s here in the southern end necessarily over here, but we do see a lot of 7A. That's a back and forth process with the bank usually, and working and getting those business plans together. What can we do, or how could we prevent some of those questions that come up, some of those issues in the business plans? Are there any common issues that you see with the business plan or application that we can help our clients with before it's sent to the SBA?
So before it's sent to the SBA, so let's get that a little bit clear, is that for the most part, as long as they have their documents together, complete an application, the lender usually does the underwriting part of it, and they use the business plan to determine whether repayment ability is there. Remember, that's the most important part. They want to demonstrate repayment ability. So we focus not so much on the business plan, the lender does. So we focus more on their underwriting and their comments using that as far as the business plan, whether they're realistic numbers or not. So as I mentioned before, the questions are going to be, they're going to pick apart the projections. Sales, you got a restaurant. How many turns do you have in those as far as tables? Are those realistic numbers? How did you get those? What support do you have for it? Typically, I tell a small business owner, you have a complete, detailed business plan, but don't give that to the lender. Give them a summary one. The summary one, so they don't get bored and fall asleep on you, all right? And let them know that let the lender know that, hey, I have more details if needed, let me know. So going back to what I mentioned before, as far as projections, they're going to look at projections and they're going to say, hey, this is overly optimistic. When I used to review, they used to submit the guarantees to us, the banks at the local district office. Now it's all centralized. But when I used to look at them and review them, I used to get a startup business that would say they're going to make $1 million in their first year. Really? And what are your profit margins? 45%. On a grocery store? Look at the margins. So they need support in order to support those numbers. And that, again, I mentioned the RMA is a good source because that's what lenders use. And so make sure that they're realistic. So go down from the line. Sales, as I mentioned, turn the tables. And then you're as far as your cost of goods sold. Your rent might be, say, $500 a month. Wait a minute, is that realistic? Well, it is, because that's what I'm going to be paying. My uncle owns the building. He said he's going to give an explanation. If there's a variance, don't use the RMA as an absolute. Use it as a tool. But if you can explain the variances, that's great. So that's what the lenders are going to be looking at too. They're going to go back and forth. Is there another reason why they go back and forth? Yes, incomplete application. So a checklist might help. And usually the best one who have that checklist will be the lender. Since they're using, some of them are what we call delegated status, so they're using their own underwriting. And that's why they love the program, because they don't have to learn SBA's way. They just do it their way. So if their way is this checklist, see if you can get that checklist and help out the client. Because when they give the checklist to the client, he thinks, well, that doesn't matter to me. I don't understand that. So that, then they send them an application and he's missing those documents. As I mentioned before, lender says the number one reason why it takes so long to do an SBA loan is not so much the SBA, not so much the lender, but the client themselves, the small business owner, the potential borrower who doesn't have the documents ready. So see if you can contact the lender, establish that relationship, and see if you can get as far as what their checklist is that they need. That's my suggestion. Hopefully that helps. Did I answer your question first of all?
You did. First of all, I just need you to come and sit with me to explain to the clients why, especially those restaurant clients, why we can't say that they're going to have 40 table turns on a Monday night. So yes, thank you.
Right.
And yes, I really appreciate it. Thanks, Bob.
Not a problem. So yeah, when you go into that, as far as using like the RMA, for instance, the sales part's not going to help you as far as the table turns. That's when you go to as far as the restaurant association and find out, what those numbers really look like. Some other type of help that's in the outside. That's what I would typically use.
Great. Do we have any other
Questions?
questions? Going once, going twice. Okay, I just want to thank you both, Bob and Charlie, for your time today and sharing this valuable information. I appreciate everyone who participated. You'll get 6 extra minutes added to lunch, and I'll see those that are joining the general session at 12:45. Thank you.
Thank you,
Great
everyone.
presentation. Thank you, guys.
Have a great day.
Take care.